Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And before I get into the news, I'd like to let everybody know that at 9 o'clock tonight, Eastern Standard Time, me, Vash, and Sham will be doing a Rated R Riffs episode on the new Doom Annihilation, so tune into that. But quickly, after that plug, let's get to this, because this is insane. I mean, let me put it this way. I've chronicled the production I did a video a while back about the production problems that have been happening with Rise of Skywalker, about how the production process is 4 months shorter than Force Awakens, and about the editor actually editing the film on site. Which again is insane. You never hear about stuff like that. But this news, if this shit is true, and keep in mind, take everything that I'm about to say next with a grain of salt, because this is mostly rumor, although supposedly this comes from insiders, is the Rise of Skywalker is still filming, which is insane. That movie is getting released in 2 months, and you're telling me the principal photography has not been completed. That is a production from hell. Now, I'm going to go through these rumors that are going out right now, because this could be the worst production in the history of film. This could be the worst. Like, we're talking in terms of like a AAA big budget movie. This might actually top Waterworld in terms of the living hell these people had to deal with. So, like I said before, they had 4 months fewer to do this film than they did Force Awakens. J.J. Abrams has a habit of bringing in his movies a little ahead of schedule, usually about a month or two. So that was pushing him to the wire already, but now we have news that it's possible they're reshooting over 75% of the film. And the reason behind this is apparently J.J. Abrams, the original cut of the film that he made stated that The Rise of Skywalker would not please everybody. And apparently the early screenings of the rough cut of the film did not go very well. And Disney's main goal was to basically have this movie kind of please the majority of people, or at least please all the main Star Wars fans. That's kind of their point in this movie, is to kind of undo the shit show that was The Last Jedi. And they've come out in press releases and stuff and claimed this. But because he came out and said this isn't going to please everybody, and he did the story, and they didn't do good in test screenings, they literally told him, you have to go back and reshoot as much as you can until you get it right. And because of that, apparently we are getting 6 different main edits of the film that they are still working with. And like I said, they're still filming, which is insane. You can't be still filming. You can't be in the middle of well, I guess this would be reshoots, so maybe it's not principal photography, but still in the middle of some form of reshoots 2 months before the film's going to come out. That is cutting that to the wire, because all those special effects guys got to work on those shots. The editor's got to do stuff. I mean, like I said, they had the editor on site, but you still have to have like the actual rough cut of the film. And then you have to do all the little tweaks and stuff. The post-production process for films is usually almost as long as the principal photography, which I guess is the reason why they're kind of doing it concurrently with this film, because they've pushed it so far. But here's the thing, is that you have enough film right now where you have 6 different possible endings to this movie. And like I said, there's a whole bunch of... I'm not going to go into any of the story nuances that this goes into. I'm just going into the production stuff, because they do list a fair amount of supposed story spoilers that are leaked. But just the production on this is... that's insane. That doesn't happen in AAA productions. And for Disney to do this, for Disney to push that entire crew to this extent, to squeeze them like this... those people have got to be cracking, because those guys have to be working 7 days a week at this point to try and get that thing ready in time for its December release date. And I blame Disney for essentially putting that hard line in of December, and for cutting off those 4 months. And let's be fair, J.J. Abrams is a guy, he can start a franchise. He's not terrible at starting a franchise. I think The Force Awakens had potential, even though it was basically just a direct ripoff of A New Hope, but it had potential to develop from there. He can't end things. He doesn't know how to end things. He's not a very, to be honest, he's not a very good storyteller in general. He's basically just a discount Steven Spielberg, and when I say discount, I mean really discount, like bargain bin Steven Spielberg, where he just steals all the ideas. But to see that the production has gone to this point, and by the way, if this movie had, it had a production budget anywhere near what The Last Jedi had, which some estimate that the high end of that budget was about $300 million, you might be looking at, you could be looking at $400 million for this budget. If you're reshooting that much of the film and you're paying those actors, those main actors, to come back and do all these reshoot shots and everything, and again, Disney kind of has this whole thing where they saying like, you have to, we don't care what you have to do, just make it right, because they're desperately trying to salvage this franchise after they royally fucked it up with Last Jedi and then obviously Solo, and I can't stress how much of an insane thing this is to try and reshoot 75% of a AAA budgeted film in today's day and age 2 months ahead of the release. They might be editing this thing the night before the premiere if this goes the way keeps going the way it is. And again, that's insane, and I can't stress that enough, that when I read this, it's almost unbelievable if they make this release date. You're going to have people working literally around the clock to try and get this thing done. And I wasn't convinced that this movie was going to do any good anyway, but if this thing this is an even worse train wreck than Solo at this point. Because Solo was supposedly the most expensive Star Wars film that was ever made at the time, because we didn't know the exact numbers for Last Jedi in terms of the production budget. But if this thing is having the reshoots that it's having, this production budget is going to dwarf Solo. So this is going to be the most expensive Star Wars film ever made, period, if this is true. And if it makes under $1 billion... But let's put it this way, if this is a $400 million budget, it's going to have to make $1 billion probably just to break even, which, again, is fucking insane. You can't have that in a production. It doesn't make any sense. It's like you're basically just throwing away money, and this is a huge blunder by Disney. I'm sure that there are people high up in Disney that are very, very angry right now with Lucasfilm and Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams and what's happening down there because of this colossal fuck up. The only thing that they really have going for them right now is The Mandalorian, which has a lot of positive buzz. This movie's production horrors have been documented for years now, with the departure of Trevorrow and the rewriting of the script. They went into production without a completed script. They completed the script mid-production. They had the editor on site doing this, and now we get this. And again, I can't stress it enough. It's insane to expect people to be able to do this. I mean, if you were at this much of a crunch point, if you were smart, you'd say, hey, we'll wait and we'll try and release this, next year at some point, because, they have a bit of a space next year because they only have 2 Marvel films going forward. So, they could probably sneak Star Wars in there next year sometime, and they might be all right, but they are pushing. They want to dominate that Christmas spot, and they don't have another film to put there right now. And I think it's more of a business decision, but ultimately it's going to end in a spectacular train wreck. I actually can't wait to see how hard this thing hits the wall. Just based on this, and again, we've seen films that have had productions from hell, stuff like Waterworld. Sometimes it works out, like Jaws or something like that, but Waterworld is one that had a hellish production. There's been many other films over the years that have had just god-awful productions. Some of them have worked out very well, some of them not. But it seems like every single Star Wars film now, post Force Awakens, aside from Last Jedi, has had some kind of strange production woes. You look at Rogue One with Gareth Edwards, where apparently they reshot 50% of the film, although that film wound up working. You had the stuff with Solo, where they reshot supposedly 95% of the film and almost doubled the production budget. And then you have all the crap that's going on with this. You had the disconnect between Johnson and Abrams between Force Awakens and Last Jedi, which again is another production and horror show where you should have had somebody above them like Kathleen Kennedy who was keeping them in line. This entire thing is just, it's literally one huge train wreck that keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and you don't see where it's going to stop. And if again, they have the Benioff and Weiss trilogy that's being planned post this film, along with the Rian Johnson trilogy that's not happening or happening. Again, nothing has been confirmed, or nothing has been 100. Nothing has been talked about, at least not for the last year or so, in depth. But it's just, this entire thing has just turned into a complete shit show for Disney, and the fact that all of these production things are getting either leaked or stuff like that, it doesn't paint them in a very good light at all. And I think that this is the final. If this thing is as big of a shit show as its production was, then you're looking at the last nail in the coffin. And I'm going to say it right now: if this thing bombs, if the production budget is what I think it is based on these rumors, this thing, if it makes under $1 billion, Star Wars is dead permanently. There is no bringing it back. Any movies they make after this point will probably not garner the same audiences because they're having problem reaching the younger generations now, and they've alienated the older generation. So this could be it. This could be the death of this, the actual literal death of this franchise, where it cannot come back. And it's very sad, but it's something that we've been seeing. We've been seeing the light at the end of that tunnel for a while now. And the fact of the matter is that a lot of people have been trying to resist it. A lot of people have been saying, like, oh, this is still good, and this is still good, and this is still good. But Star Wars is never going to get back to the point that it was, in 2015 when Force Awakens comes out. You're never getting back to that point if this movie bombs. And it would also be the second Star Wars film in a row to bomb in this scenario, which again is an insane thing that we never thought we would ever see. We never thought we would see one film bomb, let alone two. And both of those bombs really had something to do with the horrible, horrible productions that these films are going under. Solo, we know for a fact, and this one we have, some stuff confirmed and some stuff not. But I want to know what you think. Do you think that this is as crazy as I do? Do you think that they can make this release date in December with an actual product, or is this thing going to be like a half-done mess like a Justice League? Put your thoughts in the comments below. Again, I'd like to know what you're thinking. Hit the bell for notifications, hit the like button, subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?